Dr. Lance Clark knows what it's like to have a dream, and he also knows that plenty of naysayers out there want to kill the dream. And as Dean of Arts at Huntington University, he shows students that they can accomplish their goals and dreams.
Can't is just not in my vocabulary.
Dr. Lance Clark, Dean of the School of Arts at Huntington University, considers the words "I can't" the cancer of "I can." The esteemed educator and now successful filmmaker has produced over 140 award-winning student-directed short films. Clark's resume also includes 2 feature films, the latest, A Carpenter's Prayer. Dr. Clark is a man who considers filmmaking an almost sacred art, where gifted people collaborate like a symphony to create an inspiring masterpiece. He proudly recognizes Regent University with imparting many of the values and skills that serve him today.
All right, well, joining us right now live in the studio is Dr. Lance Clark. Dr. Lance, you want me to call you Lance? Dr.
Just call me Lance. That's,
okay.
Thank you, Ashley. Just Lance.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Well, it's so good to have you. Okay, we got to go back to when you were younger. When did your passion for films, filmmaking really begin?
Well, you know, I grew up in a pretty conservative home back in the 60s and 70s where I wasn't allowed to go to movies.
You were not allowed
no
to,
movies,
like,
no
none.
TV in the house.
Oh, my
no
goodness.
playing cards, right? No rock and roll. That was the devil's music, by the way. So I love my parents. They were great.
Yeah.
They were just pretty fundamental about that kind of stuff. And so I went and I kind of went against my parents' wishes, and I went and saw the film Chariots of Fire.
Chariots, okay.
And I got grounded for 30 days after watching that movie because my
goodness.
mom found the tickets in my pants. I love you, Mom.
Darn it.
And we laugh about it now.
Yeah.
But that film really helped transform me because I sat there and I saw something so special. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was another one.
Okay,
They're like,
okay.
what? I want
Yeah.
to be a part of this.
I love that. So what do you think inspired you? Like, what do you think it was about the film?
You know, it just felt almost like a spiritual experience to sit there and see a testimony, a life testimony, you know, with Chariots of Fire especially, you know, where Eric Liddell says, you know, I know God made me for a purpose, but I love to run and I'm fast. And when I run, I feel God's presence.
Oh, wow.
And that just stuck to me about that. Like when I'm on set, when I'm behind a camera, I just kind of feel the Holy Spirit channeling some gifts, using my gifts in art for that. And I love inspiring my students to do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit further. So you actually went to Regent University.
Yeah.
And that's where you got your degree in...
My master's degree in film
Okay.
was in I went to 89 to 91. We're going back a few
Okay,
decades here, folks.
love
We're
it.
going back in time. I actually started at CBN University and graduated from Regent University.
It used to be called CBN University.
Right in the middle, like 1990, they switched over.
Yeah.
And loved it. You know, I went to an undergraduate school at Huntington University where we didn't have film or anything like that. I knew in high school I wanted to do something in cinema. I didn't know how to do that. In college, it got cemented in my heart to do that. And then I started looking around for grad schools. Like, where's a Christian grad school? And there really wasn't a lot. But I heard so many good things about Regent, and I jumped in on it, and I loved it. It really taught me the fundamentals of storytelling and filmmaking that I needed, that really platformed me throughout the rest of my whole career.
Well, how did you get to Huntington? It was Huntington College, now it's Huntington University.
Huntington University,
and
right.
you are the Dean of Art.
Yeah, I think that's
incredible.
I think if you stick around a place for 30 years, they don't know what to do with you, so they just start platforming titles at you.
Yeah.
And no, I love it. I love administration, but I love doing. I love you know, I do love acting. I like performing a little bit, but mostly just like I wanted to break that model that those that can do and those that can't teach. I hate that, and I wanted to prove that we're active practitioners in what we do in the craft.
And you, like, correct me if I'm wrong, did you create the film department that's at Huntington?
Yeah, I was instrumental in forming the film department 2005, and I hired a couple of guys fresh out of the industry from VeggieTales, actually, to help start our animation side of our program. And I helped create the film. I also got my PhD from Regent in 2002, so I went back in 97 to 2002. And so 2005 we launched film.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, okay, we got to talk about your most recent film.
Yeah,
A Carpenter's Prayer.
Oh,
okay, so tell us like a little bit about the movie.
A Carpenter's Prayer is my childhood story, actually. And when I was a kid, my parents were pastors, and they were called to unite these 4 little churches into one church. And it's a beautiful story about a community coming together because our carpenter ended up being this broken down, washed up alcoholic person, a guy who struggled with addiction and everything, and the church had to make a decision. Do we hire a broken man who's a good carpenter, and what could that do with the reputation of our church? And he wanted a second chance. His name was Glenn Frank. And Jeff Dernland plays a brilliant role for him in our film, A Carpenter's Prayer. You can find it on carpentersprayer.com, shameless plug right there. And it's just a special story, and it's a beautiful story. We have Stephen Baldwin in it.
Yeah,
we have Bethany Lynn from Ozark.
That's
and
great.
Baldwin did such a great job.
Wow.
In the movie.
What character does Stephen Baldwin play?
He kind of plays we don't have a villain, but he kind of plays the person that brings the tension to it. You know, he's got that Baldwin tough guy approach to it. So he's always like questioning, like he's challenging the plot a lot, and just did a fantastic job.
I love that. Well, I wanted to also ask you, this is your first film that is a SAG film, which is Screen Actors Guild. For those who don't know what that means and why that's
a deal. That is a deal.
Like, let's talk
SAG
about
AFTRA, you know, when we brought Baldwin on and Bethany and Lynn, they were part of that Screen Actors Guild. So you have to adhere to the standards of the union, which meant every actor, if you said one line, Ashley, on my film, you had to get SAG rates at that point.
Wow.
So it increases your budget quite a bit, and all the paperwork and the logistics and all the rules that SAG brings. It's a thing. Believe me, it's a thing, but it has really helped us so much.
I love that. And another cool thing about this film is a lot of the students. You love to incorporate the students at Huntington to be a part of all these projects. Talk about that.
Yeah, writer-director Matt Webb co-teaches film with me, and we were brainstorming when COVID hit, like, what do we do now? How do we do this? And I said, why are we sending students to Hollywood to intern? Let's create a program here. And we prayed and fasted about it. And we're like, let's do a capstone program right here at Huntington University and bring the professionals in. So professionals come in all the key parts, all the key departments, and then our students intern underneath them, and they're hands-on.
I love that. I wanted to also ask you, I mean, what is it like? I'm sure you do have a passion for helping the next generation, or else you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. Why is that so important?
You know, we live in a visual world today. Think of all our social content that we consume. We're swiping right. We're all doom scrolling and watching images and all that kind of stuff. Those are stories. Those are little stories. And so it's the medium of storytelling. And I think it's a mission field for that. And it's telling, I love telling stories that are based on, you know, real situations if possible. You know, that hero's journey that God has really called us all on, you know, and Glenn was a person that didn't feel like he was good enough to go to church, right? And I want my students to have that same passion to tell stories about true life situations if they can. And if it's not, it's based on the truth that we find in scriptures. And be honest in those stories. You know, we live in a fallen world, you know, and so let's show how we can come through that fallenness and find the truth on the other end of that. And it doesn't mean it's always an overtly strong Christian narrative. I mean, A Carpenter's Prayer does have that. But a lot of our stories are like, you know, stories that just have great redemptive themes to it and are honest to God's truth.
That's awesome. Well, the last question I got to ask you, what is next? What's on the horizon for you, for Huntington, the film school, all of that?
So every other year, it's in our curriculum to make a feature film. And so we've done a second feature film already. It's called Patterns. We're not in distribution yet. We're seeking that. But next summer, Lord willing, I'll be directing our third feature film. It's called Overhill Manor. It's about a war veteran that meets a young man doing some community service, and they're in search of buried treasure. And it's got a great faith-based theme to it. And so in a couple years after that, 2027, we're looking at making a car movie based on a famous car that's out there. I can't tell you what it is right now, you know. But yeah, we're excited, and just I would just ask people to pray for us, pray for what we're doing, because we are trying to make a difference in this sea of content, the sea of information. We're trying to be, you know, family-friendly, faith-friendly, life-affirming stories that really deal with real issues that are touching hearts. People that are seeing A Carpenter's Prayer are walking out of there going, wow, I'm so moved by that. So I'd love people to check it out if they can watch it online. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, Lance, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Ashley.
All right, everyone. Well, you can stream A Carpenter's Prayer on Roku, YouTube, Prime, and Apple TV. Make sure you guys check it out.